Hey everybody, it's John Rampton again with another episode of Performance. Today we are with Gary Harper. How's it going?
Good. How are you today, sir?
Doing all right. Gary, tell
Excellent.
us a little bit about yourself. Give me a little bit of background for listeners.
Well, my Gary Harper. I'm the owner and CEO of Sharper Business Solutions. Sharper is an ecosystem of about 10 different companies at this stage. It changes every year. We add some, we sell some. Sometimes we just shut them down if they're not working, but it's an ecosystem that helps entrepreneurs scale and rise to their 100% to reach their purpose in life. All that passion comes from a desire to want to impact people and entrepreneurs in this business, in this world, in the marketplace. And kind of goes all the way back to the late 90s, where I started in corporate America and worked my way up from an hourly employee to an executive level, and then was executive coach until I was, let's see, until about 2011. 2011, I found myself ill, came down with Lyme's disease that year, and I
Oof.
had to make a hard pivot in my life from business and being an employee to really trying to guard and fight for my life for the next 12 months to entrepreneurship. And so I'd already dabbled a little bit of my toes in entrepreneurship in 2004 to 2008, was heavily in real estate, trying to offset my tax burden from my job in corporate America. And to be honest with you, was not a good experience, right? Entrepreneurship, the first round was not good, probably because I wasn't focused on it. And I was trying to do it kind of as a hustle and a side hobby and just really trying to guard the amount of money I was spending in taxes a year. But also, the economy jumped up and bit my leg, what did a lot of people in 2008 to 2010. And I found myself facing bankruptcy by 2010, 2011. So that year was what I call my year of Job. I lost my health that year. I lost my wealth that year. I lost my job that year. I kind of lost it all. I had to hit the reset button at 35 years old. And so, got through that year, was able to restore my health, and got a call from my brother-in-law, and he was still dabbling in real estate, and he's like, "Hey Gary, why don't you join me in real estate again?" I'm like, man, I'm not really feeling that. It's like, you don't go back to the meal you got food poisoning from. And, but I did, I gave it a chance. And he's like, I don't think God took you out of corporate America, just put you right back in it. And so went from like buy and hold and all these rentals and all this leveraging to wholesale, and started wholesaling houses from 2012 to 2016, and helped my brother-in-law with his business, and acted as a like a business unit leader integrator for his company and helped scale. And we did about 300 deals a year as a partner there. Started a company together called Good Success and ended up selling that. And that was to help entrepreneurs in real estate kind of grow their business, and a little bit of a mastermind. But Sharper was born in 2016, and it was born as a passion, kind of married my old world, my new world together. Like, people wanted to know how we did 300 deals a year, how we were successful in business. And, it just seemed like a natural play to help entrepreneurs get structure, organization, and accountability in their businesses so they could scale properly. And so we've spent the last, let's see, 8 years now, almost 10 or 9 years, going on 9 years next year, helping
Yeah,
entrepreneurs. We've helped over 4,000 businesses, and we do that in a lot of different ways.
crazy. It's been a journey, man.
It's been a journey.
It's
It's been a
been a
long time.
journey. Entrepreneurship is hard.
It's not
People
easy.
don't talk about what a slog it is. It doesn't just happen overnight. And sometimes we get this imposter syndrome behind us and we think it's just going to happen overnight. When it doesn't, we think we're a failure.
Mm-hmm. True.
So,
True.
how,
Well, I'll
how
tell you to
now,
back that statement up. I will tell you
yeah,
that I say this a lot. Entrepreneurship is simple. It's just not easy.
yeah,
You know.
yeah. Now, how's the Lyme disease coming now?
Well, I mean, it's there. It's always going to be there. It's something I battle every day. It's not something. Once it goes, I think what they call late stage, it gets into the tissue and starts affecting hormones. It starts affecting organs and things like that. It's an autoimmune. It's just there. You have to guard it with minimizing my stress, which is somewhat difficult at times, and guard it with staying in good
Being an
shape. And
entrepreneur, maybe you chose the wrong path. I mean,
yeah,
just throwing it out there.
but at least I control it. I control that path. Where in corporate America, it's a false sense of security of lack of control. You think you're in control, but you're not. Being an
Yeah,
executive, there are meetings behind walls that are happening right now, fourth quarter, discussing who's not going to be there in 2025, and there are people that are
yeah,
very much have a security blanket that's about to get ripped away, and they don't know that. So I like
yeah,
entrepreneurship for the fact that it lets me control my ceiling.
yeah.
you know
Talk to me about Rise.
Rise Business Framework is a book I actually wrote right here, right there, to become
Yeah,
a
I see it
bestseller.
over there.
Yeah, right
Yeah,
there. And then we got this one, who is the purpose to rise, and that's a fable. Both of these books are on Audible now. Rise has become a bestseller along with the purpose to rise. Both became a bestseller on Amazon within 24 hours of launching. And I actually got a new book right
congrats.
here, just released this week, and it's called A Purposeful Panda, and it is a children's book on Rise and helping children understand their purpose, and it's just a fun book. I wrote it for my grandson, and now it's on Amazon as well. But Rise, the business framework, which has all began with helping businesses have a structure. It's the first business operating system that I know of that helps the millennial leader. You
Yeah,
know, 2020 ushered in the millennial generation in a big way in the workforce. 52% of the
yeah,
workforce in 2020 became led by millennials. And you've got scaling up, you've got EOS, you've got Make Big Happen, you've got a lot of operating systems, Scrum. A lot of these operating systems are, and I'm not taking anything away from them, I think they're good operating systems, but they're not really written for a millennial leader. Is some of the
yeah,
business practices in them good? Sure, absolutely. Are we carrying those through to the millennial leader? Absolutely. But there's
yeah,
one thing that's fundamentally missing, and it's called the emotional paycheck.
yeah,
And the emotional paycheck's important. 50 some percent of the people that left their job in the Great Resignation, or higher, I think it was even higher, left because
yeah,
of the lack of emotional paychecks. And so, where we need fundamentals in business, we need organizational structure, meeting structure, KPI. We need process, procedures, policies. We need vision, purpose, goals. All those things. That's part of operating system. It's all in Rise too. But it's how we use them and how we bring the emotional paycheck into the employee so that they want to be a part of it versus having
yeah,
to be a part of it.
yeah. How can I, as a business leader, incorporate that into my business?
Well, it really
Want to versus have to.
Sure. It really depends on what stage of business you're in. So there are 5 stages of business based on the Harvard Business Review. And so Rise is the bridge from stage to stage. So there being 5 stages, Rise is that bridge. So from stage 1 to stage 2 is the R, stage 2 to stage 3 is the I, stage 3 to stage 4 is the S, stage 4 to stage 5 is the E. And it stands for resource, inspiration, systems, and then engagement. And so if you're in a stage 1 of business, you're just getting started, 1 to 20 employees, you really, really need to be dialing in your resources, right? Resources stand for time, money, and people. Where do I spend my time? How much money do I need to make? How much money do I need to spend? And what people do I need to help me reach these goals, right? And then we have to
Yeah,
inspire those resources with inspiration, which includes vision, it includes purpose, it includes values, it includes goals, it includes all the things that help us inspire the people to want to do it versus have to do it. And that's where we
yeah,
tie back their personal purpose, the individual's purpose, to our company's purpose. And we want to make sure that the employees of our organization are inspired because they can see how achieving the company's purpose will help them achieve theirs monetarily, emotionally, spiritually. Like, we want to make sure
yeah,
their purpose is included. And then if we do that right, now we can start to let go to those resources, but we've got to let go without losing control. And that's where systems comes in. We have to have processes that tell us what to do, procedures that tell our employees how to do it, policies on when to do it. And then we have to have good communication structure with the right meeting structure, right meeting cadence that keeps the business healthy and organized. And then we got to
yeah,
make sure that we have the right KPIs that tells us when to jump back in, when to innovate, when to change. And so that's what systems includes. And that gives us the chance to get into engagement, which is where we look to expand, where this is where we're growing our brand. This is where we're looking at 10Xing our model. But if we don't do it the right way, and what I find a lot of times, Ron, is we find that people start a business because they have a passion, they have a
Yep.
product, and they're making profits. Those three things.
Yeah.
But what
Now,
happens when they have a passion, a product, and a profit, they go straight to engagement. They try to expand. They want to get their
yeah.
product to everybody. And the problem with that is when they go that route, then they go, man, I don't have the systems to support this. And what am I doing this for? What am I trying to be at in 3 years, 4 years, 5 years? And then they go, man, do I have the right people? So they go the
Hmm.
wrong way. They grow wrong. And then, so I always tell people there's no such thing as growing too fast. There is a thing as growing wrong.
Yeah.
So I think Rise helps us grow the right way, and we
Yep.
can scale as fast as we want. Look at Crumble Cookie, for example. You know Crumble Cookie. You
Know
didn't
them
know
well.
about them in 2016. You didn't know about them in 2017. They have come on the scene in the last 6 years and just exploded over 800 locations. Why? Because they grew the right way.
Yeah. Now, you work with your wife.
I do.
How's that?
Working with a family in general can be difficult, very difficult. But I don't think it's any difficult working with family than it is because my sons are, works for me as my sales director. My daughter is our COO for a year, and she's actually become my executive assistant at this point because she just had my grandson last week, and so she wants to
Hmm.
focus more on life than business at this point. But
Yeah.
phenomenal COO at 25 years old, highest revenue growing year we ever had. But
Yeah.
I think working with anybody in life, in business, is difficult if you don't focus on four things. And the first thing is you have to focus on making sure people are in the right seats
Yeah.
in your personal life and in your professional life. You can't impose expectations on people that they're not built for, right? So you got to be careful. I don't care who it is, whether it's an employee or a family member. If you put people in seats that are not equipped to handle, they're going to fail, and it's going to hurt the relationship. Number
Yeah.
two is you better make sure that the people in your life, personal and professional, are the right people. They got to align with your values, right?
Yeah.
So if they don't align with our values, then we're going to have a problem. And then three, protecting, this is personal and professional, is we got to make sure that we align in purpose. Remember, I talked about the employee's purpose being attached to the company's purpose. Well, the people in my life that are supporting me personally or professionally, we've got to see how we're both pushing each other to get to our purposes in life.
Yeah.
And I think the last thing that protects relationships, whether it's in personal or professional, is you better make sure you align in goals. I've seen more relationships end. And honestly, being a business coach now the last almost 9 years, I've seen relationships end a business where they were husband and wife or had significant others working together and their goals no longer aligned and they didn't want to support each other's goals. So we get the
Yeah.
first three somewhat right. We put people in seats most of the time. I say 50% of the time that they're in the right seat. I definitely think
Yeah.
we get the right people analogy more done often than not, where we make sure we align with the values of people, especially when we're in relationships with them. And then purpose, I think we want to help people achieve what they want to do in life. But here's the problem. Sometimes our goals don't support their goals, or at some point their goals may have shifted. And if we don't
Yeah.
align anymore in those goals, it can cause really ugly relationships. So we're constantly checking in on those things with the family members that have working with us and making sure that this is something that they're doing for them, not just for me. And if it's not a good fit, then the best thing to do is to have that healthy conflict situation and move them on.
Yeah. Now, how do you deal with conflict with family,
Well, I mean, it
especially with
depends
your
on,
wife?
yeah, I mean, I think it depends on healthy versus unhealthy. You have healthy conflict and you have unhealthy conflict.
Yeah.
Unhealthy conflict is when we're not going to try, you're trying to get at somebody for the wrong reasons. The intention's not right. Healthy
Yep.
conflict is when you're trying to help that person get better,
Yeah.
right?
That doesn't always work in a family dynamic, though,
I
especially when
mean,
you leave it, when you come home from the office and you're, at the house,
yeah.
you know,
Well, I
it's
mean, I think
difficult.
that's where
How,
you
how
have
do,
to
how
have
have you dealt with that?
Well, I think you have to have harmony. You can't allow the things that are in the office to come home to the house. I think you have to keep the office stuff at the office, and You have harmony at home with the life at home. And once those start overlapping each other, that's when it becomes unhealthy. If
Yeah.
you have a problem in the business with a family member that's not living up to the performance that you're expecting in the position, there is a time and place in that business for that meeting,
Yeah.
right? You don't then bring
Yep.
it home and have that same conflict at the dinner table. You talk
Yep.
about things that are applying to that moment. And that's what I talk about, healthy versus unhealthy. You have to constantly be gauging, is this the right healthy time to have this conversation? You know,
Yep.
but I do think, there's not, and I'll say this, I do not think that every business out there and every leader out there should lead family in regards
Yeah.
to business. If you can't have
Totally
the
agree.
crucial conversations, if you can't be open and honest, if you can't share your feelings, if you can't have healthy conflict, then you should not engage in leading your family. Matter of fact, I'd take it a step further. You probably should not engage in being a leader if you can't handle those things.
Yeah.
Because
Now, oh,
let
go
me say
ahead.
this
Sorry.
real quick. I'd say this, the team you have is the team you deserve.
Yeah.
If you want a better team, you better be a better leader.
Yep. Yeah, you
So,
do have to be yeah, you have sometimes though that's hard because you have to grow into being a leader.
sure.
Sometimes you're thrust into being a leader and you have to learn some of those hard mistakes along the way that
Mhm.
are sometimes very, very painful.
Well, I think leadership is not a place of arrival; it's a place of constant learning. I think if great leaders are students of leadership, they don't stop studying leadership. At any point you
Yeah.
stop studying how to be a good leader, you probably have taken a step back in leadership.
Yeah. Now there's a lot of information out there, and
Mhm.
you have put an importance and a focus on implementation.
Mhm.
How do you help your clients cut through that noise?
Well, I mean, I said this the other day. People got to stop paying for information and start getting implementation. Another way of saying that is stop paying teachers coaching prices. You know, we're paying a lot of people in this world right now that are teachers. They have knowledge. That's what teachers are. They have knowledge. You could go read that book, gain
Yeah.
knowledge, and go teach it. But coaching that book takes years of experience. It's a big difference, right? And so in our business, one of the things we do, as a coach, is we don't focus just on information. We focus on implementation. So with a company, we come in and we implement for 2 straight days with them and their leadership team that framework. And then we have someone who runs their weekly meetings for them to help him implement the structure. We have somebody who
Yeah.
helps them document their processes. And then we have an in the business coach that works with them every 2 weeks that helps them make the adjustments in the business so that they're
Yeah.
getting the results from the implementation. And then every 90 days, we come back as an on the business coach and readjust their goals, their vision, their plan for the next 90 days versus just telling you go do it, coming in saying, all right, this is what you're not doing right, go fix it. We're actually in the business with our clients, helping to adjust them.
Yeah. So what have you seen as is the current coaching atmosphere right now? What's going on in that world?
Well, I mean, I think a lot of people are have become known for strategy coaches,
Yeah.
and I think you need strategy, but I also think you need plan. And the strategy planning is not one and the same. Strategic strategy is one thing. A plan is another thing. Strategy inspires people, plan drives results. So we have to have
Yeah.
both. And so, like, most coaches focus just on the strategy and not the plan. So, we have to have a strategy coach and you have to have an organizational coach. One is what we call the on the business coach, and the other is the in the business coach. For so many years, everybody's been like, better work more on your business than in it. That's true, but we didn't preclude the word in it. We still said you have to still work in it. Right. So
Yeah.
there are daily
Yep.
adjustments in the business that need to happen. And you sometimes need a coach to help you make those adjustments in the business.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, for sure. Now you were in the corporate world for
Mhm.
13 plus years.
Yep.
How has that changed? You pivoted to this entrepreneurship world. That's a hard pivot. That's some would say impossible pivot. What are business owners facing today that a lot of corporate people aren't?
Well, I think the ability to understand when to change. Entrepreneurships are very, very reluctant to change. And I'm not saying that corporate America is not. I mean, there are definitely corporations that have gone out of business. But if you look back at a lot of businesses when they start, like they're not known today for what they originally started for. So being
Yeah,
willing to pivot, change, and adjust. And we as entrepreneurs get so like mentally blocked on change and what we need to do to be in front of it. The Rise Business Framework, I actually call the visionary an innovator for on purpose because I don't want the CEO of an organization to just try to figure out where we're going. I want them to innovate where we need to be. And that's
yeah,
a big difference in entrepreneurship versus corporate America. They're constantly researching and developing. They're constantly trying to find new ways to get better and innovate their product. Where entrepreneurs are kind of like the book Who Moved My Cheese. They're like, I don't want to change.
yeah.
I don't want to change.
We are.
They hem and haw versus sniff and scurry. So, like, if you want a very, very blatant picture of entrepreneurship versus corporate America, it's sniff and scurry versus hem and haw, and we're all left in Station C wondering who moved our cheese.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
What's the future of Rise and the
future
Rise
wise.
system?
Yeah, so Rise is owned by Sharper. It's a Sharper Education owns Rise, but I think the future of Rise is very clear to me is to sell Rise in the next couple of years for $130 million. That's my goal of Rise.
Okay.
So I know it's specific, but it's what I'm looking at. I looked at other operating systems that have been built and sold, and it's not too far fetched from that. We have Rise AI, which is a chat AI system that we've taken the book and my videos and all my training, along with Brandon McCurdy's training and Austin McCurdy and Susan Harper, my wife. And we've taken their knowledge and presentations and their information, and we've loaded it into a chat system that we can
Yep.
help people with building their business operating systems with prompts right in chat Rise AI. And so that's an aspect that we've added. We've got the Rise Generation, which is the book there. We're going to be helping youth and young entrepreneurs get the right mindset so they're not indoctrinated into being employees, but they start to learn how to be visionaries themselves. And
Yeah.
so I think in the next 3 years, what the goal here is to get this in the hands of every entrepreneur in the world, and let's
Love
move
it.
and create a movement of change for people to start implementing the system properly.
All right. 3 years from today. Mark the date.
That's right. That's what we're looking at.
Well, thank you so much for your time. One question I had for you before we finish is what's your biggest struggle right now and how can we help?
My biggest struggle right now is awareness of the system. I think we have to be able, it's a mountain of a challenge when you're creating a movement of change to get information and honestly, not only get the information to everybody, but to get them to see the value of how it's going to help streamline and get them to where they need to be. And Rise does that. Rise isn't just a system that is like all other systems. It's a system that allows us to take back control and
Yeah.
implement the right framework that allows us to reach our purpose in life.
Love it. Well, thank you very much, Gary, for your time.
Of course.
Thanks for those listening, watching, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you.